Hello, I'm Simon Whistler, you're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today, the top 10 unbelievable stories of humans saving dogs' lives. There is a saying that dogs are man's best friend. Many pet owners feel like their pups are practically their children, and they would do anything to keep them out of harm's way. In the video today, we're looking at 10 stories about people who stepped up to save dogs' lives from extraordinary circumstances. Do note before we get started that this video contains some pretty disturbing stuff, especially if you're a dog lover. Each entry does have a more or less happy ending, but do proceed with caution. Number 10. Iceberg Ahead. Siberia is one of the coldest places on the planet, with temperatures reaching as low as negative 90 degrees Fahrenheit. In 2010, a Siberian fishing boat spotted a black dog that had somehow managed to get itself stranded on a tiny iceberg in the middle of the sea. Clearly, the water here is so cold that the dog would not be able to paddle his way back to safety before freezing to death, so the frightened canine could only bark for help. One brave sailor tied a rope around his waist and swam into the frigid water. He grabbed a hold of the iceberg while his co-workers pulled them both in. Once the dog was back on land, he was reunited with his other stray friends. Hopefully, none of them will ever get stuck on an iceberg again. Number 9. Gobi. An Australian ultra-marathon runner named Dion Leonard was in a week-long race across the Gobi Desert in China. A scruffy little stray Chihuahua Terrier mix began running alongside him. Photos of Dion and the dog circulated all over the Chinese media, making her an overnight pup celebrity. Dion decided to name her Gobi. They finished the race and both earned the silver medal together. During the race, Dion formed a special bond with Gobi and he wanted to adopt her. Chinese law requires that in order for an animal to go overseas, it needs to spend time in quarantine first. So Dion decided to leave Gobi in the care of his friend. Unfortunately, little Gobi was feeling restless and she managed to escape the apartment. When Dion heard the news, he flew back to China and began a 10-day-long search. When he posted on social media that Gobi was missing, citizens of the city began sending him potential leads. By no small miracle, one family actually found Gobi and the two were reunited. Dion wrote an autobiography called Finding Gobi, and there is already a movie in the works about their story. Number 8. High-speed rescue. Unfortunately, it's all too common for people to dump a dog on the side of the road when they no longer want to take care of them. Usually this is done in an area with trees where a dog at least has a chance of survival. But in this story, the former owner decided to dump their dog in the middle of an incredibly busy highway in Romania, where all they could do was cower under the median. A veterinary surgeon named Ovidiu Rossi was driving down the same highway when he spotted the tiny dog. Ovidiu pulled over right away and risked his own life by running across the busy highway. After earning its trust, the pup crawled towards Ovidiu and he was able to bring it to safety. He then brought the dog to his house and later found him a home forever. Number 7. Comedy for a cause. The French comedian Remy Gallard has over 6 million subscribers from prank videos on his uploads to YouTube. After his dog passed away in 2016, he decided that to honor his pup's memory, he wanted to pull a stunt that would encourage more people to adopt. Remy locked himself in a cage in the Montpellier Animal Shelter until all of its 200 dogs were adopted. He also aimed to raise €50,000 to go towards animal shelters. Remy lived in a cage for a full 87 hours and he broadcast it all on Facebook Live. This caught the attention of the local media and hundreds of fans showed up to meet Remy and adopt dogs. In the end, he actually managed to raise well past his original goal, raising over €200,000, and every single one of the dogs in the shelter found a good home. Number 6. Frannie. In 2017, someone stabbed a 10-year-old poodle 19 times. Despite the fact that the attacker deserves to rot in hell, they left the dogs on the steps of a church. The dog somehow managed to survive, but it was quickly losing blood and very close to dying. The Humane Society of Missouri showed up just in time to save the poodle's life, and they named her Frannie. One of the first responders felt an immediate connection with the pup and decided to take Frannie home. Today, Frannie has fully recovered and she is enjoying life with a new family that loves her. Number 5. Dog retirement home. Everyone loves a puppy, but when dogs become elderly, it becomes more and more difficult for their owners to take care of them. Whether it's due to the expenses of medical care or the lack of time in their schedule, it's all too common for owners to choose to put their elderly dog in an animal shelter. Unfortunately, most of those dogs never get adopted and are simply put to sleep. A woman named Cher Polvernell from Maryland couldn't stand to let senior dogs die alone. She decided to turn her own house into a retirement home for dogs and created a non-profit organization called House with a Heart. Cher wakes up at 6 a.m. and doesn't stop working until midnight, looking after the dozens of dogs and tending to their medical needs. It's very much a full-time job, which is why she relies on donations and income generated from a separate dog kennel business in her home. She also gets help from local dog-loving volunteers in order to make it all happen. Since 2006, Cher has completely devoted her life to making sure these dogs will live out the rest of their lives as comfortably as possible until the very end. Number 4. The Dogs of Dowdy's Ferry. In 2014, a woman from Dallas named Marina Tarashevska learned that a long stretch of road called Dowdy's Ferry had become a dumping ground for unwanted dogs. On her first trip to the location, Marina was able to locate 10 abandoned dogs. Marina continued to visit Dowdy's Ferry several times per week. Sadly, she finds the bodies of dead dogs more often than live ones. She has openly criticized the city of Dallas on their lackluster efforts to help resolve this problem. The Dallas Animal Shelter has a policy that if a dog doesn't have a microchip, they are euthanized within just 72 hours of their arrival. Former dog catchers for the city reported that they were instructed to stop catching dogs in order to improve the reputation of the city's euthanasia rates. So Marina has taken it upon herself to rescue dogs and then share their information on her Facebook group in order to find them a loving home. Dumping is against the law. So far, there has only been one arrest by Dallas police, and it's because Marina films the license plate of a truck who was dumping dogs at night. Thankfully, even though Marina is having trouble finding local help, she has received support from a group called Second Chance Rescue. The only downside is that it's all the way in New York. Number 3. Tiger. Tiger the pit bull had a rough life, to say the least. The dog is over 10 years old and he's become deaf and blind, so when his original owner couldn't handle Tiger's care anymore, he was adopted by a woman named Lexi Tinsley. Unfortunately, after owning him for about a year, Tiger managed to escape. What Lexi didn't know is that Tiger had become friends with a stray Chihuahua. The two pups were walking together through a local park in Bartersville, Oklahoma. The river had frozen over, so Tiger kept walking on top of the solid ice until he fell into the freezing river. Thankfully, a man named Micah Seamers was at the park, and witnessing the pit bull struggling in the water, he used a nearby extension cord as a lasso and pulled the dog to safety. Number 2. Asha. A stray dog in Udaipur, India was looking for a place to sleep, so it crawled into an open barrel that was laying on its side. Sadly, it didn't realize that the barrel was full of black tar. The dog's body heat melted the tar overnight and it became stuck with no way for it to get out. Rescuers from an organization called Animal Aid Unlimited had to use vegetable oil to get her out of the tar and then carefully remove the muck from her fur. Her body had been badly burned on one side and it took over 3 hours of work before the dog could stand on her own. Since that day, she has made a full recovery. The rescuers decided to name her Asha, which means hope in Hindi. Number 1. The Yulin Festival. The next story is the most upsetting story by far, which is why we left it for last. In some parts of China and Cambodia, people eat dog meat. In their culture, they don't see any difference between killing a chicken for meat versus killing a dog. One animal rights activist called Mark Ching from Los Angeles goes undercover to Asian dog meat factories under the guise of a wealthy American investor. He negotiates bringing home some samples of live dogs who have been tortured, saying that he will decide what he thinks of the meat quality later. In reality, Mark brings the dogs back to Los Angeles, where he provides them with medical care and sets them up for adoption. Every year, there are over 20 million dogs killed in China for meat. Unfortunately, there is only so much that one man can do. However, Mark's actions contributed to putting a spotlight on the issue. In 2017, a huge group of animal rights activists from Humane Society International stopped a truck in southern China headed to the Yulin Dog Meat Festival. The group managed to save over 1,000 dogs from being eaten. So ending on that note, I'm not really going to ask if you enjoyed the video, but I do hope you found it informative and interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got brand new videos just like this every day of the week. Also over there on the right, some videos from the archives that you might enjoy if you enjoyed this one. And as always, thank you for watching.